What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Wnba Dfs here to bring you guys that WNBA slate breakdown for the 3-game WNBA slate. Nice slate. Definitely think that it's going to be interesting to see how we can build because the pricing is pretty tight in some spots, but definitely some money to be made. I like these type of slates. This is a better size slate versus having a showdown. Speaking of the showdown, but before I even get there, if you guys are new here, make sure you guys go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It doesn't make any sense to me that over 60% of you guys that watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. I don't understand it at all whatsoever. Drop a like on this video if this video or any of my other videos help you guys win some money. And with that being said, let's look at yesterday's slate. Like I always like to say, when it comes down to a showdown slate, it always goes into the mindset of how do I feel this game is going to go? Who is going to pop? It's the same thing even whenever you're building your NFL showdown cores or your lineups for that, or even for college football. Anything that has a showdown, it all depends on how do you see the game going. And if you can go deeper into the stats like what I did, looking at the more optimal builds, the 4-2s, 3-3s, or hey, who's more in the captain spot, point guards, power forwards, centers, those things matter and kind of gives you a little bit of edge. And I talk about that every single time whenever we do it. And yesterday was one of those days that we actually got to see the fruits of that labor pay off. It was a 4-2 that won yesterday, 4-2. And it was Jonquel Jones being in the captain spot, JJ, Breanna Stewart. If you faded her whole completely, did not play Stewart, which I ended up doing that. I ended up fading Stewie. I went more heavy on Sabrina, JJ, Phoebich, and I had got a sprinkle of Vanna Sloot in a couple of lines. But it paid off. I was very standstill on Burke. She was my value, but unfortunately, Burke going out there really didn't do anything. I would have did much better if I would have went with Baby Sabali instead. Of course, the pricing was like lower than Burke anyway. That would have definitely paid more dividends because Burke did not do anything, only played 6 minutes. I really was expecting more. But Thornton got off the bench 28 minutes. Sloot did not see the minutes, which shouldn't be surprised. Sloot on the back end of a back-to-back, the oldest one on the team. I should not have been surprised in regards to that right there. Really thought that she would have actually seen her regular burner run, but 28 minutes, that's surprising. And Thornton, she popped off. But on the other side, we talked about it. Went out there. Guards going up against New York Liberty. Went out there, popped. Pretty good game. 15 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. She was dishing and diming and just was working it all in the first half. Died off a little bit in the second half, but still did just enough for us. And then Carter on the other side, 22 points, 5 assists, 1 rebound, 1 steal. Was all over that. Was all over it. The one, of course, wasn't all over. Expected Reese and Cardoso to struggle. Of course, you're going out there versus JJ versus Stewie. Izzy Harrison off the bench. Was not expecting her whatsoever to come out here and just go, her to have a double-double herself. Wasn't expecting that. So definitely some things right there pay dividends. If you guys were able to check that out yesterday, hopefully I can give you guys some more nuggets and stuff for today's slate. And with that being said, let's go look at some injury report. Looking over at the WNBA injury report, there's a couple of things that we got to actually pay attention to over here. We already got the news yesterday, I think even the day before yesterday, that DT, she's going to be out for the Phoenix Mercury. Shug Sutton, she's going to be out as well. Osborne's going to be out. So we're going to see the same starting line that we saw the last game that they played. Cloud, Copper, Rebecca Allen, Herbert Herring, and Brittany Griner. That should be the starters unless BG's wife goes into labor. I'm not sure if she had the baby yet. I haven't seen anything posted on any of the WNBA outlets and stuff that I follow. So definitely would pay attention to that. But I highly doubt that she's delivered baby yet. For the Indiana Fever, they shook up the starting lineup last game. We got to see Lexi Hull and Katie Lou Samuelson start last game. I would pay attention. Luckily, this is the first game of the slate, or one of the first 2 games of the slate. We will have the news if Lexi and Katie are starting again. I wouldn't be surprised if Katie starts. I would be surprised if Lexi starts. I hope that they go back to bringing Alyssa Smith in the starting lineup. I understand the whole switcheroo because you don't like Nalissa, but there's no true reason why she is a good offensive player. When you actually support her, she locks in on defense. She is good on defense. Either way, I'll get into that a little bit whenever we actually get over to DraftKings, but definitely pay attention to that starting lineup. That one right there is, to me, key for this slate because the value that we can get on today's slate is literally from that game right there. We have to know the starting lineups for both these teams, specifically the Fever. Over here for Las Vegas Aces, same old. No one's on the injury report for them. Same starters as always. For the Atlanta Dream, dealing with a bunch of injuries. I think they're down like 8 players right now because now you got Letitia's out, Canada's out, Ryan's out, AP is still out. Same old starters that they ran out last time. Maya, Alicia Gray, Haley Jones, Tina, Nia Coffey. This is just crazy the injuries that Atlanta's dealing with. They're starting to look like the Dallas Wings with the amount of injuries and stuff that they got going on. Then over here for the Minnesota Lynx, Fee is doubtful to play. She is not playing. She's still in the boot. I don't know why they keep playing around like, oh, she's gonna play. No, she's not playing. Do not believe the hype. If you see someone saying that Fee is going to play, she's not. And then on the Seattle Storm, no news to report over there for them. Heading over to DraftKings, the site that I play the most on the site. If you guys don't got an account, you want one, check the link down in the description below so you guys can get that deposit match bonus and join me over here on the King. Today is one of those days where they're actually giving us the 20K to first, $15. Don't got to play $20 today, but $15 to go ahead and get 20K to first. Definitely, like I said, if you guys saw my Twitter last night, I said it, I posted, I dug into the slate. I was up to like 2-3 o'clock in the morning just looking at stuff, just looking at different stats, different categories, matchups, everything, because it's not that I felt like I fell off a little bit in regards to this. It's just that not happy with my results personally in regards to it. I'm happy with the results that everyone else is getting from the content I'm putting out, but I'm not happy with my results. My results are not my typical results when it comes down to WNBA, and it got a little bit to me last night, so I stayed up. You know, me and a bottle of whiskey, we were grinding it out last night, but we came to some pretty good conclusions on a couple of things over here for the slate. First things first, over here for the Las Vegas Aces, like I said, there's no news that we have to worry about or focus on when it comes down to the Aces, unless magically they decide they want to rest a Chelsea Gray, because of course she's the old bag of bones on this team or something like that. The Aces are the Aces. The Aces are an offensive powerhouse. They're going to come out here. They're going to grind. They're literally going to play fast, do what they do. Honestly, there's no skipping a beat whenever it comes down to the Aces now. Since Chelsea Gray's been back into the starting lineup, they look very well. All starters are in consideration, of course, and the exact order that they're in right now, which is, of course, their pricing. A'ja Wilson, Jackie Young, Kelsey Plum. I will put Clark above Chelsea Gray because Clark is seeing more minutes right now lately. She's been playing at least the mid-20s, has looked pretty good. She did have a stint of a start, but 28, 29, 22 minutes, all pretty decent minutes coming out here for her. This is the legit order I would put them in, as in ranking for them when it comes down to the Aces. Now, one thing I will say, A'ja Wilson on a slate, typically, you're going to try to find a way to fit A'ja. Like, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. You look at her game logs, you look what she's out here doing. She is literally going out here giving us at least 50 to 60 fantasy points. She's been the most consistent WNBA player so far this year. Consistency runs through her veins right now. A'ja at 12.9, I understand that. You got her at 12.9. You got Clark at 12.5. I think there's ways we can fit both. And again, that value from the Phoenix Mercury and Indiana Fever game matters so much, because I do believe there's a world where we could fit both of them, feel comfortable with what we have, and rock out. But I will say, you will at least need one of A'ja, one of Clark today on today's slate if you want to try to make some money cash. I don't see a world where one of them are not in the perfect lineup, and I would be surprised if they are not both in the perfect lineup. But A'ja Wilson, love her today, 12.9. Tell me, Tina's not going to be able to keep up with her. Coffee, not going to be able to keep up with her. Nas Hillman, not going to be able to keep up with her, do anything with her. She's just literally a powerhouse and a force. Played against them earlier this season, 35 minutes. She dropped 53 fantasy points in that game. Enough said. That's it. Going over Jackie Young. Jackie Young would be my second favorite Aces player on the slate. Granted, that game that she did play going up against the Aces, it was not your typical Jackie Young game like what we're used to over these last couple games. She did go out there, drop 30-ish fantasy points in that game, but 9.5. Jackie she's too strong. She's too Jackie out there. She's rebounding very well. She's out there whenever Chelsea Gray isn't out there on the court and they put the ball right back in her hands. She's running those point guard duties again. I talked about this before. The scoring is there for her. 9.5 for Jackie. Love the upside. Love it there. Plum, of course, is always, she'll be the GPP play whenever it comes down to this trio, just because she relies so heavily on her scoring for her to actually go out here and have a good game. If Plum is not scoring too well, she's not going to go out there and do too much for us. Now, we do know there is quote-unquote bad blood between her and Tanisha Wright, but I think there's bad blood with everyone and Tanisha Wright, because who likes Tanisha Wright? I don't even think of players like Tanisha Wright right now. But going up against Atlanta, 39 minutes, she dropped 32.25 fantasy points at 8,900. That's not bad at all for Kelsey Plum. Now, looking over here on the Atlanta Dream side, I will say that the Aces defense doesn't necessarily scare me, because the biggest thing with the Aces, they run and gun. They're just trying to outscore you is how they normally play. They can play some defense. It's very lacklusterous. Maybe they'll get a couple of blocks, a couple of steals, get in the passing lanes, things like that. Locked down for like a good 5-minute stretch, but it's not going to be the whole game. The biggest thing with Atlanta is they actually just have to go out here and score. Can they go out here, keep up with the Aces, and score? Tina Charles has been lackluster over the last couple games. 10-1 is a huge price to pay for her, but She's in a system spot, a system play that we've attacked constantly throughout the season, going up with centers, going up against Kia Stokes. It's a system play repeatedly. We've seen it. The last couple of centers going up against Stokes have actually had good games themselves. Ezzy just popped for 27 fantasy points herself. Hamby had 54.50 fantasy points. Leah Boston, 40.25. Big Mama Dosen dropped 41.75 fantasy points in this spot. Biggest thing is can we get Tina that we just saw, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 games ago against the Chicago Sky, where she dropped 49 fantasy points, 19 points, 14 rebounds. Can Tina blatantly give a fuck and actually play and give us a good game? That is the question that is to be answered. Big GPP play. I'm not too heavy on Tina just because, of course, she's burned me the last 2 slates that I had played her, that I've played props for her, everything in the smash spots that she has had. GPP only for me, especially for the fact of the usage is there. I can see a world where Tina can pop off. She's going to be needed to stay close in this game. The question is, will she actually do it? For my trust issues that I have for her and her coach, I cannot go there. Alicia Gray, on the other hand, I do like what I'm seeing from her. She is going to have to deal with that Jackie Young defense, that Chelsea Gray defense. They are going to be all over her like white on rice. That is actually a little bit of worrisome, but the shot attempts that she's taking, everything that she's actually doing out here for the team, she literally is having to carry them on her back, do what she has to do. 20 points, 19, 19, 19, 24, a couple of blocks, couple of steals, rebounding. All that is being done by Alicia Gray, and she's going to play majority of the game as long as the game stays close enough for her to actually be out there. No justification needed really to go ahead and play Alicia Gray. Now, outside of that, I will say a sprinkle of Haley Jones, just because she's been pretty consistent over the last couple of games. Earlier, going up against the Las Vegas Aces early this season, she did go out here and she played 22 minutes, gave us 16.75 fantasy points. GPP option, nothing that's too heavy right there. Cheyenne Parker-Tyus, of course, if you want to rock with this, just understand you can just look down the description below, check my Cash App to send me the money that you would actually play if you're going to go ahead and play Cheyenne Parker. 26 minutes, dropped 20.5 fantasy points, sitting at 6,400. That is not worth your time, not worth your value, unless Tina is scratched and they say Cheyenne, she's playing 35 minutes. Don't do it. Maya Cadwell, I will say I do have some interest in her. 5,900. She's out there. She's playing. They love this girl. They love her, and I'll give it to her. She's decent. 59 is just a little bit too expensive for what I think we should actually be paying for her, especially when you scroll down here. 4,200. Dasani Water Henderson is sitting right here, and she's getting minutes. She's going to, it looks like, see at least about 20 minutes. If she can actually score, that'll be another thing that might come around. I don't think it'll kill you. If she can go out here and get us about, maybe this could be the game she goes out here and gets us about 15 fantasy points, 15, 16 fantasy points at 4,200. I will take that, walk to the bank, be happy with it, call it a day. 4,200, definitely in consideration. You got to look at her. You got to consider it, especially because, like I said, value is a little bit far and in between. Unless we get the news in regards to the Indiana Fever, if they're still going to start Lexi Hull, that's the biggest thing that we got to wait on right there. Speaking of, going over to the Phoenix Mercury, literally, they have about 8 players. I'm going to tell you right now, Herbert Harrington is starting. You're going up against the worst defense in the league. Herbert Harrington has showed us over the last couple of games she actually has some type of offensive bag and can actually do a little something when she's out there on the court. 15 and 25 fantasy points in the last 2 games, going up against the worst defense in the league next to my Dallas Wings. 25 minutes. If she can put up 25 minutes, 25 fantasy points going up against Dallas Wings, I can only imagine what she can actually do going up against the Indiana Fever, who play faster than what we play. So definitely 4,500, that is the lock value of the day. Definitely you can look for Lexi Hull on the other side if you want to, or Katie Lou Samuelson, and run either one of those to go ahead and get your other set of value from this game in something like that in that order. But outside of that, Cloud, Copper, Grinder, all 3 of those are in play. I'm not really looking at Rebecca Allen, not really looking at Cunningham, not looking at Mac. Sprinkle Mac just because they are, Mac and BG are the only 2 bigs that are over here for them. You're going to have to consider one or the other. But other than that, for me, the order over here of these 3 is going to be Copper, Grinder, Cloud. That's how I see it. That's how I would actually want to take it. Cloud, 11K, a little bit too much for me. I understand she popped in that game going up against the Sparks. Legitimately popped. She did great going up against the Fever the first time. 33 minutes, 40.75 fantasy points. But I will say she had to carry them in that game because K-Cop didn't really do anything in that game. 31 minutes, 14.75 fantasy points. I really do feel like this was just a off day for Copper. Off. Because as you've seen over the last several games, 21, 34, 25, 32. She's looking like K Copper that we were seeing at the beginning of the season. Now you're going to give her the worst defense in the league. I will take Kalia Copper all day over Natasha Cloud. Love the upside. Especially just the pricing for Cloud is way too... I never would have thought I would see the world where Cloud is 11 fucking K. 11K for Cloud. That is mind blowing. But BG, pretty good spot for her as well, as we do know. Going up against Fever, 31 minutes, dropped 35.5 fantasy points. It's literally her, Copper, Cloud. They dominate the uses over here for him. It's just no brainers. Over on the other side, Caitlin Clark, 12-5, like I said. No introduction, nothing needed for her. Literally trying to make her campaign for Rookie of the Year. Reese, she's kind of doing a good job. Stat pad with the double-double. So, yeah, maybe she'll come out here and drop another 13, 14, 15 assist game going up against the Phoenix Mercury. First game going up against them, 12 assists, 15 points, 43.75 fantasy points. I would expect kind of around that realm again, if not maybe 60. She dropped 61 fantasy points against the New York Liberty. They beat them against the New York Liberty, someone who we consider a pretty good defensive team. Granted, there was no Wnba Dfs, so their defense does take a little hit right there, but still, 61.5 fantasy points against New York Liberty. That's huge. And then to go back and drop 72.25 against the Washington Mystics, that's good. That's good. Hopefully she can keep rolling, give us another 60. Her and Asia, like I said, I really do feel something in the bones, something in the whiskey last night was telling me. Both of those two, I really don't see how we don't try to fit Clark and Wilson into a line today. At least one. At least one. Outside of that, Leah Boston, she was in foul trouble last game, 9-9. I do actually like her here. Going up against Brittany Griner in the last game, 34 minutes, she dropped 32 fantasy points. It is a bit risky just because of the matchup. She is going to be a bit undersized when it comes down to BG, but she did hold her own in that game. Now, she didn't hold her own going up against Big Mama Dolson in that last game, got herself in foul trouble. So hopefully she can actually do that coming up, going up against BG here. Nalissa Smith at 8,800. If she starts, I have no problem running right back to Nalissa Smith. 32 minutes, 39.25 fantasy points, and has actually played the Phoenix Mercury pretty well throughout her career. Do not mind going right back to her if she starts. If she's not starting, that straight up GPP option, kind of a little bit too much for me to go play. I understand that she is still going to see the minutes out there. She played 27 minutes in the last game off the bench, but something about a starter starting that should be starting is more dividends to me versus still getting them at a low, too much to go into. But anyway, Nalissa Smith needs to start for me. Would rather get her as a starter instead of her coming off the bench. K. Mitch, definitely a GPP option if you can't get up to Caitlin Clark. Very much scoring reliant. 24.25 fantasy points the last game going up against them. Not really too much for us to dig into right there. Like I said, coming down here, if Lexi Hull starts at that 4,100 price tag, I don't mind going to her at all. I will also say, Dantas, I can see the world where they shake it up and they decide, hey, let's start Dantas at the power forward spot. Let's run this random out here. If they do, you know I'm gonna have a sprinkle of that. I'm gonna have to. 3,800 definitely will let me fit my Asia and my Clark into my lines. I'll have a sprinkle of that for sure. Outside of that, Katie Lou Samuelson, 5,100. I honestly cannot say this is a bad price tag. The minutes are definitely there. She is starting. The shot looking like it might be coming around. As long as she actually is out there knocking down her shots and she can rebound pretty well. They're going to need her to rebound in this game going up against Phoenix Mercury. 18 minutes, she only had 10.25 fantasy points. That was on 5 points, 1 block, 1 assist, 1 steal. If she can actually stat pad here, get a couple of actually decent stats in this game, she can pay off that 5,100 price tag, and I do see reason to go with her. But I will say, if Lexi Hull actually is starting, unfortunately, I would expect at least about 20. About 20-ish minutes for Lexi Hull. She didn't shoot bad. I really just feel like the defense might not have just been there for her in that game. But definitely, if she is starting, I will have to consider her at that 4,100 price tag. That's too cheap, honestly, for someone who is starting. That's kind of like the Maya Cadwell type stuff and everything that we looked at in Slate's past. Going over here to the Minnesota Lynx taking on the Seattle Storm. Really kind of a no-brainer in this game. Like I said, Fee, don't expect her to start. Dorka, 6,300. Bigs going up against the Twin Towers. They've actually played very well. You got a Twin Tower set yourself in Dorka and in Alana. 6,300. That's too cheap for a starter. And we actually got to see a remembrance of what Dorka can actually do from her rookie season. 31.5 fantasy points in 32 minutes. Love the upside for her. 6,300. Again, too cheap. Way too cheap. Outside of that, Carlton at 7K. If I land there, don't mind her. She definitely has been stepping up, especially with the shot attempts and the shooting. 4-4 from 3, 3 of 8, 4 of 6. Has looked very well since fee's gone down. Definitely, if she can go out there, game should stay close, much closer than the last couple games. She should be able to go out here and have a good day. Don't mind her at the 7K price tag. And then, of course, off the bench, Xana Lacini at 5,400. She is going out there and she's playing. Long as the shot is still shooting and is good, she's going to give us a pretty decent fantasy point number. I'd say roughly between 15 and 20 fantasy points. I don't mind going there at the 5,400 price tag. That is decent to me. If I had to choose between Kaylu Samuelson and Xana Lacini, I'll say I kind of would leave Xana Lacini right now. How it stands is what I would be looking at if I was to have to choose between the two. Outside of that, Courtney Williams at the 7-8 price tag. This is definitely one of those games that should stay close. Should be one of those games where they are going to need Courtney Williams to be able to step up and go out here and have a good game. Outside of that, Kayla McBride, I could see the world where we could consider going with her in this world, but that's straight up GP option, not when we have some of the other players that we actually have inside the price point right there. I don't see a world where we have to force it. And then last but not least, everyone's little favorite, Roly Poly Oli, Peely. That's it. Peely. For the Seattle Storm, really there's only 3 players that I want to focus on over here. Skylar Diggins-Smith, she's been getting there, 8,700, much cheaper than Jewel Lloyd. I like the price tag, like the upside from her. She's been scoring decently and still playmaking very well over the last several games. I don't mind that going up against Courtney Williams and Kayla McBride. 8,700, I'd rather pay that for her versus paying for Jewel Lloyd, if I'm being honest. But when it comes down to it, Lloyd to me relies a little bit, just too much has been more on her scoring. She has to go out here and have a pretty decent scoring night in order for her to go out here and pay off the salary. At 9K, at 9.4, there's definitely, I could go up to get Copper, who's in a much better spot. Missing stars out there going up against a weak team. I would rather go to that versus taking Lloyd. And then when it comes down to the Twin Towers between Neck and Ezzy, honestly, the cheaper one has been the one that has popped off whenever it comes down to them. If you look at their game logs and what they have been doing over the last several games, both of them in this game right here, neither one of them was really needed. They just didn't in this game. But if you look at their game logs, just the back and forth in regards to it, I like both of them. If you could fit either one, I do believe there's merit and there's upside to getting either one of these guys because they're going to be needed. Minnesota is actually one of those bigger teams. Definitely some upside for them. Going into this matchup, I do like both of them pretty evenly. It just depends on who you can actually fit. I will say Ezzy has not had the better games going up against them. 34 minutes going up against the Lynx, 26.75 fantasy points. NECA, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure she has popped in both of these games going up against them. 34 minutes, she dropped 27 fantasy points. And then 43 minutes, she dropped 52.25. 30 minutes, she dropped 34.75. So mixing pot in regards to what we can actually get, I still do not mind either one of the bigs in this game. Everyone else over here, Horston, Sammy, Mercedes Russell, Jordan Holmes, Vivians, I'm not looking at any of those guys. And if you guys would like a fashion show, follow the Storm's Instagram, Twitter, whatever. They will show you whatever Nikki Mueller is wearing and not her playing on the court. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me. Again, like I always say, if you guys haven't done so already, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Drop a like in this video if it helps you guys out. Definitely check back later. I will be recording Prize Picks right after I finish this right here because your boy's hitting a 6 slip today. Facts. I'm hitting one. Came too close several times this week. Got hooked by Carter. Last night, Stewie decided to just do me completely wrong. I'm coming for vengeance. Vengeance is my name today. Protected slip dropping. I might actually just go live and build that out for you guys, and we shoot some ideas off of each other. But straight up, we are smacking a 6 slip today. Facts. Hopefully you guys cash out. Peace.